Yes, here we go. It is the T.N.F. It's the night we hand over the keys to use, kind of. It is the night where we will be discussing, obviously, the meeting that has happened between about 7,000 Celtic fans and some members of the Celtic board. And obviously, we'll be talking about football as well, because Celtic got a late goal. Was it monumental in the title race that we seem to kind of be in right now, because we're only second in the league? And we'll be talking about anything else that you guys want to throw our way. It's always my favourite night of the week, a Thursday, when I get to join the judge. I get a wee beer with the judge. He probably rolls his eyes when he sees me cracking open the beer, but I love these wee segments on a Thursday and getting your company, big man, and talking all things Celtic. Welcome aboard, everyone. How the devil are you, Mr. Kearney?
Oh, I'm doing very well, thanks for that, mate. That's a good intro. No, like a wee beer field sessions we have together, boys. So normally they're pretty good. I'm on the green tea as always. I'm no that crazy.
Notice the colour of the tea, ladies and gentlemen. Notice the colour of the
green,
tea. Even his tea's green.
Of course, exactly. Think green. But I'm doing very well, mate. How's things with you? How's life?
All good, mate. All good. We're in a good place, mate. And ready to go. So we'll get stuck into enough of the formalities. Remember, just do all that good stuff. And that means if you're subscribed, hit the bell. If you're not subscribed, hit subscribe. If you want to become a member and help keep the wheels on the road, it's much appreciated. Each and every one of you who are members, it's $1.99 a month, but our content will always be free. It doesn't get you anything extra, but it's a support of the channel, and we appreciate that, because we've got guys like Mark who give up their free time on a regular basis. And obviously you've got myself who just, I don't know, pops up whenever he wants. Also remember piesports.com, tasty pastry treat, 12.5% off at the checkout when you use the code BUS1888. Anything else? I think that's enough of that shite. Right, okay, let's get stuck in. Mark, I, hot off the press, was able to send you the minutes to the Monday's meeting that have just been emailed out to everyone in the part of the fans collective, which of course the Bhoycie Bus is, contrary to I think some folks' beliefs. First and foremost, I just want to say, anyone who was in any doubt, and I know there was a few of you who watched and had doubts over the validity of the meeting we told you that occurred 3 weeks ago with one of our viewers and Chris Mackay, Michael Nicholson, and Peter Lawwell himself. Obviously, if you watched the show we did, feeding you back that information from the meeting, you will now see a hell of a lot of similarity traits, and hopefully that puts to bed any doubt that meeting took place and what we were reporting wasn't factual. And secondly, tells you that their stance is very much as we reported at the time, and one of denial, of ignorance, and absolute resolute, we ain't going nowhere anytime fast. And I think that's very apparent from whether you've just read the sort of summary that's been put out by both the club and the fans earlier on in the week, or if you have read the meeting minutes, then you'll be even more aware of just the sort of predicament we find ourselves in. What we're hoping for, first and foremost, before we get into the meeting stuff, Mark, and I know you've read it relatively thoroughly in the time you've had before the show, and we will talk about the things that have raised your eyebrows from that. Don't get me wrong, we will get into that. But first and foremost, I think when we look at it from the outside, I think it's very important that we get a vibe when we've committed to something. It's like, I don't do politics, I think they're all lying bastards, right? But this is what it would be like if you were sent 4 political parties cards with a manifesto through the door, and you've fucking aligned with one, i.e. us aligning with the fans collective, right? I know there wasn't other options, but that's came through the door, and they've given you a manifesto and pledges that they want to follow. What you're wanting for when you've backed that horse is for it to be seen through with the same passion, the same energy in which you first read the pledges that have been made on the manifesto itself. I'm hoping that what's transpired in the last week has made their resolve greater, has made them angrier, has laser focused their eyes on why this whole movement began in the first place. That's my first point on it, mate, because I get worried that these things are diluting when I see, not because it was a silent protest I thought were going to be a huge success. That's by the by, you've committed to it. And when I've seen that on the basis of just a meeting being arranged, that was withdrawn, my worry, as we discussed last week, was, is the pressure cooker just dialing down a few notches? Are we in our drive for change just slightly lowering our foot or lifting our foot off the gas a wee bit? And have we mellowed in our approach? And was it all reactionary? And of course, as I've said to you before, guys, we've seen the movie before. It seemed to me like everyone was batting from the same for the same team when it came to sack the board after the COVID season, or towards the end of the COVID season. And by the end of that calendar year, everyone was back on song with Celtic, and Peter Lawwell reintroduced himself on the stage with a new title, and nobody really pushed back like they should have been, or like I thought been based on their protesting only 7 months prior to that, which was so vitriolic, so loud, so emphatic. I couldn't believe the change of tune. And of course, I'm concerned, Mark, that could happen, that movie could happen again. So if there's a good thing that people think this meeting went nowhere, and I think that's what will probably be our synopsis come the end of tonight's show, that it didn't really do anything. If anything, I hope it's pissed people off a wee bit more again on our side of the fence. And if anything, starts motivating and concentrating minds again, Mark, on what the fucking game is here and what the end game is that we're looking to achieve. Because right now, I'm not saying it's wishy-washy what's happened. I wouldn't go as far as that. But I certainly feel like it was easy to dampen the movement down a bit by Celtic just by calling a meeting. That's now happened, and hopefully that sparked the fire again in the bellies of the collective and all fans, by the way, that goes for in terms of what we eventually want to see. And I think that will be, for me, wholesale changes that are required. Whether we get that or not, whether it's a long game or not, if you want that change, then get your sleeves rolled up and get ready for the long game. But don't take your eyes off it. Don't take your eyes off the board, and don't take your eyes off what the end game goal is meant to be.
No, I totally agree. I think for day one, for the outset, Celtic fans have been wanting 2 or 3 major issues resolved. And it's the first one would have been certain board members removed from the club. I feel like that's taken a distant backseat to these other issues like fan surveys and the 7 questions put towards the Celtic board. I'm not entirely sure we're still laser focused on what it is we're actually wanting here, Bhoycie. There's too many things at play here. The 7 questions put forward by the collective, and each one had their own merits, but they were murky in the water, in my opinion, to what the actual end game was for the Celtic fans, and that was the removal of Chris Mackay, Michael Nicholson, Peter Lawwell. I mean, the 3 stooges that have brought this club to a position that with £70 million in the bank and struggling to get a team on the park that can compete in Scotland at times. I think results in the park, they dictate how the Celtic fans feel about the club in general and the job the board's doing. They were already in October, and we've seen the club being kicked out of Europe, being beaten their own patch at Celtic Park, failed to beat Rangers at home, drop points at home against Hibernian, and failed to score goals in 5 games out of 10 matches. And that is alarming stats for any Celtic fan in any era. And I think the meeting itself, and what we should all get into, I think it refocuses what the club, how the club feel about the fans. I think it refocuses the fans' desire to get certain people removed, and we can't shift our focus away from that. See, we start asking questions about communication, Bhoycie. Start asking questions about long-term strategy, short-term strategy, player trading models. We're totally missing the point here. We're missing the point is if Celtic can go forward, it's not going to be with these guys driving the club. And fundamentally, what we want is change. I think we've got now a collective that's now got the Celtic fans' ear. I think if they make a statement and they ask for certain sanctions against the club, I think it's going to be met with anybody that's behind it will be 100% behind the sanctions. I don't think anybody's going to deviate. But we saw how paper thin their morals were, or paper thin their ethics, or whatever phrase you want to use, is on how much they wanted to see this out, Bhoycie. It only took one suggestion of an email of a meeting with the club, and they backed down. They withdrew certain sanctions, and they gave the club far more credit than they deserved, Bhoycie. I think if we hold the club to account, or certain board members to account, we shouldn't have gave these same board members the ability to fuck us over Monday night and make us all look like fools when we turned up to a meeting and suggest it with the expectation we're going to be getting answers after the club, going to be getting club on their knees, or at least a level of acknowledgement that they did something wrong. I mean, within the statement, within the minutes itself that we read earlier on, I mean, there's clear denial that the club believe that they did anything wrong. There's clear denial that the club believe that they're lacking in Europe. There's a clear denial in the club belief that the fans got a right to be angry. I mean, one of the statements in the minutes suggested that for what they can gather, there was a section of the fan base that was happy with the club's statement last week. A statement that turned Twitter and Facebook into a meltdown with anger. You know what I mean? It was a pathetic, almost, try to goad the fan base into being angry. It was really pathetic to read it. Nobody signed it as well, so I thought that was a bit pathetic and probably a wee bit cowardly as well. And then you've got obviously the issues surrounding the manager, in which these board members suggested that it was off a fabricated piece of piss by the Sun newspaper, and nobody can find out who said what. And the club's investigation into the process was just to simply ask if the board members, did you say anything? If that's the club's investigation into a newspaper trying to dethrone the club's manager, then fuck me, I'm not surprised that the same board members don't want to release information when it comes to the reports on fans' safety and fans' bullying by police and stewarding. Did they think that little of the fans? That not only do we not deserve answers, we don't deserve to be asking questions either, Bhoycie. And we're now in a situation now where if this movement's going to take any momentum and go ahead with it, we have to be aligned with one goal and one goal only, and that's to remove these people from the club. And no other side issues like communications and standing sections and fans forums and all.
Yep.
None of this can dilute the real issue, Bhoycie. And the real issue is, how do we get to the point where it becomes untenable for the shareholders to still back these guys that represent them on the board? How we get there is a debate, but one thing it's not a debate, Bhoycie, is the fact that if we're going to be doing this, it had to be a single-minded approach. Simple as that. Bhoycie's away to, I don't know, make a bit of salmon or something. He's quite posh during the week. But no, listen, I read the statement earlier on, the meetings for the minutes for the meeting earlier on, and anybody that's not saw them yet, you'll be astounded at some of the stuff that's committed. You've got CEOs shrugging their shoulders at questions, Bhoycie. You've got the omission of Peter Lawwell at the meeting is itself kind of smells a bit fishy as well. Is he too cowardly to appear in front of the fans? Is his position already untenable?
It's a wind-up move.
Maybe. I think it's
a wind-up move.
Well, it's almost at the stage now that I think where the clubs is purposely baiting the fans. You know what I mean? I think their social media is almost exclusively there to annoy the fans. You know, we saw Celtic.
I suggested that about 2 months ago, if you remember.
Yeah,
I said it one, and remember the replies I was getting in. I was off my head. It's just a social media person. I says, but so no one talks at Celtic. I went, everything's done under direction, you know. So if you're only a social media person, that means you don't have the clout just to put up what you want. I went, there's instruction, there's direction given, and that's that road. It was undeniably there was a few wind up posts. I think.
Listen, this is what you call like Saddam Hussein stuff. You know what I mean? There's a dictatorship going on at Celtic.
Right, Mark's went a wee bit silent there. I'm not sure what's quite happened. I think his connection's gone. But yeah, I think I don't know if it's at my end or at Mark's. I'm hoping it's not myself. If you can let me know if you can still hear me, that would be great. Mark appears to have frozen. I think you're back, Mark, but you're back to the blurry version of yourself. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you fine, mate. This is getting fixed on Tuesday, by the way. The Wi-Fi is getting fixed, so hopefully...
You've never looked better, mate. Never looked better.
I do apologise.
That's like your vision.
I know. Tell me about it. I've got my specs with me in case I have to run through any of that stuff later on during the show. But
yes,
I think it's insulting, Bhoycie, and I think it's now got to the stage now where nobody can be in questioning the validity of the Celtic fans like myself and you calling for the heads of these people. I think there was a banner put outside the stadium last night saying that the Celtic board aren't welcome in the stadium. I think that's a start. If Celtic fans can make it illegally and safely that uncomfortable that the Celtic board can't come to the matches, for me that's a start, Bhoycie, because the Celtic board have done everything in their power to stop fans from coming to stadiums themselves.
That's ironic,
That includes banning the most loyal and faithful sections of the support. It includes muting the same section of support. It includes trying to hire the same people who try to introduce an act and a bill in Parliament to demonise every Celtic fan, every football fan in Scottish football. Bernard Higgins was the man behind that, and Celtic tried to hire him as their football safety.
That is unbelievable that they were going to do
write a book. If you wrote
was
a
that
book,
baiting?
Was that no?
Was that another baiting thing though? Like,
no, it must be because.
Why would you pick him?
Well, if all the people, you know what I mean, I'm sure a good scouting agency could find you a lot of people that didn't have a background of having a bill go to Parliament, be passed, and then have to be legally flung back out again. the same bill that was taking the young boys out their beds, got to their work, got to their girlfriends for a season, telling them that their cars are marked, stopping men in trains and having photographs of them and bits of paper and asking them where they're gone and all the rest of it, you know. And these are the same guys who were demonising Celtic fans for donkeys. And then the man who tried to put together some sort of act in Parliament to strip every Celtic fan of their legal rights. You know what I mean? This is all documented. This is all facts. You know what I mean? This isn't me just sitting here talking a lot of shit.
No.
In fact, Celtic didn't even deny that either, boys. See, that lasted about 4 or 5 months. I don't know if you remember that. Before Celtic let it out to the usual rats in the media that it wasn't going to be happening. And I think they had to pay that man compensation. That's the most ironic part of it, you know what I mean? But no, boys. But we saw what happens Don Mackay came out of the club and tried to at least shake the carpet a wee bit and fluff the pillows and make Celtic appear and look a bit more modern. The guy lasted a matter of weeks before they sacked him and brought on.
That was an absolute squirrel, mate. That was that they appointed him with no intention.
A team player. Remember that he was described as a team player, quote unquote, Bhoycie. And I think when you're using terms like that, you know, you just knew then and there that the man who was coming to replace him was going to be another stoogie. And not only was he a stoogie, he was a stoogie who was doing another job 2 weeks before it. It was just a different title. And I'm fed up. Me and you have sat on this pod for 3 or 4 years now. We've took abuse on Twitter, Facebook, whatever platform you want to name. And now it's all become a fad now or it's become popular for these things to be brought into the public and Celtic fans to nod their head and be angry. Now, when you sit every podcast and say, keep your eyes on the board, it's not because they want to have a slogan that's going to annoy folk.
No.
This board will do everything in its power to demonise its support, bleed this dry, and then rinse and repeat the following season.
Divide and conquer as well.
Yeah, my dad uses that phrase all the time, boys. If you've got a fan base that's divided, nobody can unite. This is the first time I've saw a group that's got the ability to unite, boys. But having the ability and having the balls to see it out, I'm not too sure.
Time will tell. Time will tell. Yes, I think that's fair. I mean, one thing as well, I mean, based on the images that we've seen from the weekend, I mean, there's two benefits. If they're all about the money, I mean, if Lawwell was to leave, I mean, they wouldn't need to do any more repairs to the North Stand either, because he would be, him bouncing about celebrating goals would be obviously taken out the equation as well.
Oh, my God, boys. See that picture?
That is a guy who does not want Brendan Rodgers to win.
No. You see that picture?
I'm sorry, that's the case.
If you had to write a book, Bhoycie, about the club and the fans being totally different, that would be the front cover of that book. Wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it was like almost it's like some, remember that program used to go on years ago, Only Excuse?
Mm-hmm.
If you saw it on that, you would call it parody, wouldn't you?
You would. And I mean, even the twice now, by the way, 2 different games, cameras are on us. In the inside pocket on the phone.
I know, the phone's...
Mate, that's 2 games now. That's totally deliberate.
Synchronised, Bhoycie.
Mate, and 2 different matches, no way that happens. No way. The camera's on us. We're live on the phones.
Is that a
And
PR
you know what that's the
competition?
equivalent of, mate? Barry Ferguson and Alan McGregor when they were in the
Yeah.
Scotland bench
Aye.
doing the fuck you. Trust me, that's what that is. And I think Lowell sitting whilst, I mean, it's not like it's ecstatic, Michael Nicholson's face. I mean, I don't know if he knows how football works. Like, you put the ball in the net. I'm not quite sure he actually understands
No.
like the concept of the game itself.
Like, watch it,
But
fan, wouldn't he?
they stand up like nervously clapping, thinking that's the thing to do. Lowell is sitting and is, I think, mask slipped. Because your instinctive reaction to that moment is, regardless of your age, you're up off your feet. There's an elation moment. Yes, you need to be, maybe you're conscious eventually, like, oh, we're bored, we need to be composed. But instantly, there's a reaction of positivity, that positive energy that comes out of you, yeah? When that goal goes in. It's guaranteed. You can't, and one that you can't help. For his instinctive reaction to be head down, glum face, that's the wee chink in the armour. He's given a bit of the game away with that. Mark, we talk about the meeting itself. Now, Michael has been in the chat, obviously Mick's a regular on the show these days as well, which is great. Yep. And it gives us great insights about the fans collective, and he's saying back the collective. And of course, that's what we're trying to do.
We are going to back him,
and we 100% are. But what we always try to do in the bus is bring that balance. And Mick's brilliant at bringing it for the strengths of that group. And I've really enjoyed the conversation I had with him last week. I was hoping to get him on this week, but his work dictates that he can't, unfortunately. We'll be back on soon. But me and you were in complete agreement at this before we came on live. I said, what grabs you, Mark, before we've even got into the minutes? And you said two things. Firstly, the absence, of course, of Mr. Lowell at the meeting. Secondly, it's got attendees. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from Celtic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, around 21 between Celtic Collective, Celtic fans groups, supporters associations, affiliations, etc. Now, what grabs you with that, Mark? And I said to you straight away, from chef to chef, too many cooks spoil the broth, mate. And let's be real, mate. You're never, unfortunately, going to get concise. I think we had a viewer who attended there on their own, was able to respond direct to answers that were put to her, as well as maybe the odd poser that were put to them, like such as, who else would want this job? Who else would do this job? She could give that real-time reaction because it was a personal debate that was occurring, yeah? See, when there's 21 there, and Celtic wanted that, by the way. I think egos need to be parked here. I think they all need to work together. That's the Affiliation of Registered Celtic Supporters Clubs, Association of Irish Celtic Supporters Clubs, Celtic Disabled Supporters Association, the Fans Collective, who had 10 members there, I think, themselves, Celtic Supporters Association, Celtic Trust, and the North of Ireland Supporters Clubs. I think they all need to get their heads together now as well. And I think there needs to be egos taken out of this. Everyone, you have to be able to trust to report back to you with accuracy, information, and fact, and let your ego be parked and let the best guys go do the job. If it were me, I would have had 3 out of that 21 attend. 3. 3 different voices then come back to you, all confirming what their findings from the meeting were, all in good faith and honesty, but those 3 are able to press their points more. Those 3 can ask follow-up questions to their original question. They can have more personable debates, Mark. They can get closer to the core of answers that you're looking for. I think when there's that many there, I think it's far easier for the board to brush over certain things. I think it's far easier for the board to be able to, in one instance in the meeting, and this is a fact, shrug their shoulders at a question. Now, that is because if that starts a rabble, whoa, guys, one at a time, and patronisation is allowed to begin. Headmasters are allowed to start running the pupils. I think now, if this is real, it's not, and this isn't just on the collective, by the way, do not get me wrong. It's now time for the collective, in my opinion, though, to reach out to these other members who are represented there and let's go. We need now to get all our heads together and start being ruthless. Trust the 3 people that are going to attend from now on to report back and represent you in good faith and report back accurately and with all the objectives at the forefront with real drive. And I think that drives a different conversation to what we see with that. That is far too many people at a meeting, in my opinion, for the point to get across. And if I'm honest, plays into Celtic hands. And at the very worst, it means there's still too much ego. I don't see the need, if we do look at the fans collective, for example, for there to be 10 of them there. It's time to get a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I admit it. And I mean, it's fucking folk might fucking fall off their chair. But I said to you before, for all the wee fellas fucking, getting on the news at 10 and all that bollocks, he's a fantastic speaker. He's smart. He would instantly tune in to slip-ups or trip-ups that are made at that meeting and could interject, could give good replies. You might need a wee fucking confidence booster before it, you know what I mean? You might need a wee pat in the back, a wee cuddle, something like that. But once he's in the zone, he's articulate enough, smart enough to trip these guys up time and time again and get his point across direct. That's someone to me that would represent what those 10 could do far better on their own. I think this is where real drive, real leadership, and real courage of following through what we all seem to think that we're doing. And that is park your egos, park that I need someone there, I need one of my guys there, and go, we need 3 Celtic fans there that want this change. And if that doesn't mean one of my association groups have a representative or I don't get to go, so what? For the greater good, get 3 people there max and get real personable conversations, as I keep saying, that actually take a direction, that can deviate, that can move about, and that can get follow-up questions added to questions. And I don't think you get that with 21 people there. It's right now, it's your turn. And are you at the back of the guy in the yellow jacket? Have you spoke yet? All this pandering pish. It's like fucking question time.
Mm-hmm.
With a wee panel in front of them. All that's missing was fucking Fiona Bruce for that fucking meeting. Do you know what I mean? We don't, it's what Celtic want. That's the thing. What Celtic did at the beginning of the month was offer one fan the opportunity. Funnily enough, never offered that viewer of the bus who was kind enough to come to us with phone me straight after it to tell us what our findings were. But never once did they offer her, bring someone with you if you want, by the way. They wanted her on her own. See, when it comes to the fans groups, and there is intelligent people in the room, they want you to bring as many of your pals as possible, because it just makes it a bit of a rabble. It makes it a bit, and it makes it easier as head teachers, principal teachers, whatever you want to call it, to manage the assembly hall. And that is a fuck up in my opinion. And I think this is where people need to grow up, sacrifice their own sort of privileges, if you want to call it that they could obtain, and go, do you know what? Am I one of the best 3 there that can communicate? Am I good under pressure? Have I got the backbone to sit at a table with these guys and push back to what they say articulately, if that's a word, but with a purpose behind it, and not be intimidated by the room, and not lose my cool, not let emotions get the better of me. Whittle that down to the 3 best at that, mate. What's your take?
Well, totally you need somebody who's going to be confident as well, enough to listen to what's been said and have the wherewithal to respond to that, rather than sitting there nervously waiting for their turn to ask a question and not quite taking in what's been said, Bhoycie. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it deals a bit of focus when you're up next. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's no conversation flow.
It's more intimidating as well.
And
your point's not. You're not going to be as good at articulating your point, Mark.
No,
sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. That's all right. No, of course. I mean, you're not going to get what you want out of the question unless there's a follow-up question. And if you're only getting one question or 2 questions, there's no flow of the conversation. There's no. I've never asked somebody a question really, and then I had a one-word answer or one sentence answer, and then I went right, okay, and walked away for that, fully satisfied. You know what I mean, Bhoycie? There's follow-up questions, and there's more context needed quite a lot of times, and this is a big issue. It's a very emotive issue, so there's a lot of clarity needing put forward by the club. And don't forget another, there's also vested interests. I mean, it's Thursday now, what, 4 o'clock, 4:30 before you got that email, Bhoycie. What I heard on Tuesday or Wednesday was that everybody that was there, all the groups were there, had taken their own notes. And once all the notes had been put together, they were either going to decide if the notes were different, they were going to put out different notes of the meeting, unless they were honest, unless they could have come to something. If they came to an agreement, they would put it all together as one statement.
Celtic's just released them, mate, and they've called the title "Agreed Minutes."
Aye.
So you're right.
That just shows you in any conversation, there's always people picking up different sentences and picking up what they want to listen to and all the rest of it, right? So we need people there that's going to be unified and listening to the one version of events. You know what I mean, Bhoycie? I dare say have 3 people sitting there, or 2 or 1. We'll record it, put it on Celtic TV. Record it. I mean, see for total clarity. If this is going to be minuted,
that's a great point.
If it's going to be minuted, Bhoycie, there's nothing to hide. There's going to be nothing said in this board meeting that's going to be letting our opponents into secrets or maybe divulging contractual information. And the thing is as well, if the collectives, if anybody in the collectives, the collective, I think they've all got a vested interest. I think they've all got side issues and side agendas, and the main agenda is it's like the Celtic Trust. I feel like the Celtic Trust, they want to be on the board and get the shares. So they will, like the SNP, jump on any bandwagon and use that as a vehicle to get there. So sometimes they lose a bit of trust, in my opinion, the Celtic Trust. You know what I mean? But I do believe that they want the very, very, very best for Celtic, at least. You know what I mean? So when I look at some of the stuff for the collective, some of the people that's amongst it, I can see vested interests throughout the full fucking thing, Bhoycie. I really can. I can see how some factions might just begin to whittle a wee bit with certain promises, certain like fan communication, fan forums. Oh, it turns out you're right. We do need, for example, another standing section. We do need, for example, less briefs gone to the hospitality at Hampden and more gone to the affiliations. I'm not saying this is something that could happen, Bhoycie, and I'm not saying these groups would fall. But
they don't go in with that intention, mate. But they can be compromised.
I think there's only compromise when there's different wee factions, Bhoycie. There's got to be a single-minded approach here, and a clear voice and a consistent voice. You know what I mean? I don't think that they were going to be the 2 guys resigning during that meeting on Monday. That wasn't going to happen. But there must have been at least a level where you could have left that meeting satisfied. It sounds to me like everybody left that meeting just baffled at what they saw and what they heard. You know what I mean?
Do you think before they went, now this isn't us making it about the bus, because it wasn't us who attended the meeting 3-4 weeks ago, just so we're clear. We're the only ones that took the viewer up on the proposal. But I know she contacted the Axon, for example. I know that for a fact, with the fact that this meeting was happening and never got a reply at the time anyway. If that's changed, then I stand corrected now, but never at the time. But once we posted that video, given that Intel ITK shit, but we literally told you what had happened at the meeting, what the attitude was of the board. That included Lawwell, of course, at said meeting. I'm a bit baffled that they never got in touch with us which, not because I could give any more insight. That dog's classy.
Go to fucking mute me, boys. I can't see his fucking laptop. Go to mute me, please.
Of course I can, mate. Of course I can. There you go, mate. That's you muted. I wonder what he's saying right now. That'll be funny. I think he said fuck for clarity there. But if they got in touch with us, we could have pointed you in the direction of the viewer who attended that meeting. You could have got real insight then. You could have got tooled up for this latter meeting and prepared for the type of answers they are going to give. Because what we've learned is they've given the same scripted answers, whatever you want to call it, as they did back in early September to one of our viewers who had a meeting on their own with Chris Mackay, Peter Lawwell, and Michael Nixon. And I think things like that is important, that they're covering all bases. They could say they're not aware of it, but they've been reached out to one of the fan media pages. We've posted it on ours, and they could say, "Oh, we don't watch the Bhoycie Bus," but you would see it on Celtic Quick News and stuff. The headline. They've got to be open. Don't play the ball. You know, you don't need to like me, but you should have got in touch and found out what the fuck was all that about. Because we've got a meeting coming up. Have you got any insight, or have you got the contact details for the person who attended that meeting, so we can maybe get some sort of, you know, ahead of the game expectancy of what their answers are going to look like? You could have got all that. That was ignored, and I think that was foolish. I dare say people didn't believe it to be true. And I'm not making it all about that, but it's an example where I go, this is where the open-mindedness has to come out. This is where the egos need to be parked. This is where we all need to be, you know, forgetting, you know, what fan group it is we represent, forgetting what fan media page it is that we host and all that shit. And this is when it needs to be, how do we get best tooled up to go here? How do we go about the next meeting, which I'm guessing will be the best move they can get now, is the hope of another meeting. So how do you drive that? How do you go in there better equipped to get more direct answers? And I would say you'd whittle your numbers down, and you take all the fucking possible information that you could have gathered before it, you gather, and you go in there, I think, with minimalistic numbers but leaders who can talk. Agreed? I better unmute you, Mark. There you go.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry, I don't understand when you're barking like that, mate. But
I think my computer had crashed there. I don't know what happened, but sorry about that. I think it's my neighbour's dog. I think it likes to annoy me when I'm on the podcast. I don't blame it, to be fair. No, I totally agree with you, boys. And I do think there's a lot of truths in what you're saying there. You know what I mean? We'll never know the thinking behind the club and the shitty moves that they make, i.e. bringing in 21 folk rather than a few people. I think it was all a bit, you know, as you say, to try and control the room. And I totally agree that maybe it was sections of the fans base that was watching this show that will maybe have believed some of the stuff that was coming out of the podcast. I think it was last month when we unveiled some of the information that came out. It seems like the exact same meeting was held last night, Bhoycie.
It's not changed, Russell. I've had no contact from anyone. That's who was at said meeting.
Oh, is that? I'm no namer, but well, that's good. Well, see, the thing is, like, it took that last one email to Peter Lawwell to get the same meeting that it took the Celtic collective 12 minutes of silence to get. You know what I mean? So it just shows you how hard it actually was. I think these same leaders in these big, massive groups could have sent a collective email and then did this probably to the club's benefit more quietly. You know what I mean? And we could have had this situation at least further down the line than what we are now in October. And we're still in the same situation as we were in September the 1st, when everybody became angry all of a sudden that the Celtic board don't act very quickly. Although reading the statements, reading the questions and answers for that meeting, the board seemed to think that getting in Kieran Tierney, who was a free in January, but getting him in July was a quick move, and getting in Benjamin Nigren, a guy who's won a raffle ticket, getting him in early seemingly turns Celtic's transfer policy into getting him in early, as they say. I think
what I've always said to you, mate, you're fighting in the Champions League for potentially last 16 still in the January window. Yeah, not even top 24, potentially last 16, right? Mm-hmm. And you decide not to pay the couple of million for Tierney. You decide not to pay the 3 million that Nigren would have cost instead of 1.6.
You sell Kyogo as well, and you sell your. And one thing I noticed as well, like Rogers has mentioned, Nicholas Kuhn and Daizen Maeda both said in the beginning of February they want to leave the club. That's when about the same time so they get kicked out of Europe. These two players probably saw a total shift in reality when it came to what the club sees progress and what these two players saw as progress. I dare say the agents had conversations with him and said, you know what, this club might be the right club for you, but not at this time in your life. Their ambitions don't match yours. Both players don't just chuck it after getting beat up by Bayern Munich, Bhoycie. Both of these players probably thought to themselves, we thought we were at a progressive club. At the time, both of them were performing well. And not only did they sell their star striker, they didn't even choose to replace him. So
what message is that?
Why would you mentioned Kieran Tierney there? I say you push all that aside, Bhoycie. I think one of Kieran Tierney's biggest issues in a footballing sense is he's not quite yet up to speed at Celtic, fitness wise, because he was on the bench for a lot. If he came in January, he'd have probably been 30 games further down the line than what he is just now.
It's a great
25
point.
games. So
it's a great point. It's a great point.
Even in that, as a footballing man, there's genuine.
And by the way, in that time we'll have paid around $500,000 in wages.
Aye.
The Jeffrey Schlupp.
Aye. And then what if? Let's just look at it as purely financial. If you want to be horrible about it, if you want to be vile and be like the way the board see things, we lost one goal. We get kicked out of that out of Europe by a 93rd minute goal. The first goal in injury time at Celtic Park was a mistake for a bumbling left back. The ball came out of the tap, and he misread the ball bouncing. A guy playing at Kieran Tierney's level might not misread that bounce, and you don't lose that goal, Bhoycie. Had that happened, it's already went through. That's a £5-6 million jackpot for the club. That £1 million, £2 million wages have been mitigated. That's been no bother. We've made profit in that. Not only have we made profit in that, we've got a player in, the fans are happy, the manager's got to be happy because the following season he's made up to speed. There's so many positives.
You're so right, mate.
And yet, only a club that's that backwards, only a club that sees progression as regression, that Celtic can think these things are correct. I mean, you'd have to read some of the answers that Michael Nicholson gave and to these questions to believe them. If you never knew how these folk behaved, you would question some of the text. You really would. And I don't understand how anybody can get this stage without backing them. I mean, Michael Nicholson said that there was a section of support that actually backed the club's statement in October the 7th, was it, or whatever it was? Whenever it is that the club released a statement to back what they did during the window there, and to respond to some claims by the fans that they're not got the best interests of the club at heart. But that was insulting as it is, that statement. But to sit there and tell a group of people who feel that strongly that they're putting sanctions on the club, they're representing thousands of fans at that meeting, to tell these people that they're all wrong and whatever people they listen to in the golf course or the petrol station, patting them on the back, telling them they're doing a good job. If that's them getting validated that they're doing well at their job, Bhoycie, then fuck me, it's a very small level of what do you call it, scrutiny, self-scrutiny involved here, you know what I mean? I mean, that's what I believe it. I genuinely believe that this board believe that they've done nothing wrong. I think they must sit at the board meetings or whatever and think we're all crazy. I believe that they're that in a different universe, that they believe they've done nothing wrong. It's like the Rangers fans with a straight face tell you they're still the same club. I believe them. I believe them 100% that they believe that because they're that warped. And I believe that these cunts are that warped that they believe they're doing a good job, Bhoycie. Because you can't sit on a straight face and to the fans, to the thousands reading online, and sit in that stand and be so arrogant if you didn't believe what you were doing was right. At least Peter Lawwell had the brass neck not to go. I'll say, you know what I mean, Bhoycie? At least he was laughing. I'm saying at least Peter Lawwell was getting the brass neck not to go. At least he sat. At least he went, I'm not going to go there and look these guys in the face because they know I'm a bullshitter. At least he had the boys to do that. They went there and went like that. We're doing nothing wrong. Nothing to see here. It's like, I don't want to quote Pedro Caixinha, but see their life, and they're just now, the dogs are barking, but that caravan's just keeping on rolling, Bhoycie. And that is the aim to a T, but there's no wheels left in the caravan because they've they've used every last life of goodwill for me, and the caravan's not got any wheels left. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Very interesting. Few points have been coming in as well. We've got Celtic Girl in the chat, who obviously was the person who attended, as we say. So there's quite a few posts for. I'll just bring one up there now. They spoke a lot in my meeting about building a Champions League player. I asked them what the timescale would be, when they expect aiming to create this. They couldn't tell. They said it's difficult to say what organisation has a plan or strategy with zero timescale. Well, it's very true. But I mean, I think if I'm right, they pointed to examples of success such as Calmac, James Forrest, and KT. Now, KT's the most recent one out of them, and his debut was 10 years ago. So they've not done Champions League Celtic players in a decade. So it's incredible. I mean, there is, again, it's just all waffle and bollocks. I love all the tax stuff as well. Foreign tax laws.
German tax laws. And
boys,
see that, I think it was a 20-minute Tim, so we'll know. I know we're no fans of them. I seen one of them saying that I think since 2012, I think 103 Celtic players have come through the youth academy and made their debuts at Celtic. 103, and only 5 that have been out on loan and come back and get first team action at Celtic. 5 players have made it out on loan and get back. Ralston, Christopher Ayer, Callum McGregor, Ryan Christie. No.
Yeah, Ryan Christie.
Ryan Christie, because out on loan.
Ralston.
Ralston, I said that. It was one more. But 5 players at 103. The club have set out on loan and they've come back and made that impact in the first team.
Wow.
So Celtic are gearing up very quickly on these players straight away. So it's not just the fans that are totally disillusioned with how the club's progressing players through the ranks. In fact, they touched on this. They said, we've spent this money on the youth academy, and we've now got a player pathway manager, and we've now got Peter Tilsdale or Paul Tilsdale, who is the head of operations or whatever. But they too are failing as well, Bhoycie. You watch the B team; they're getting beat half by painters and decorators. I mean, they're talking about the Bay City Rolls Select are beating the Celtic B team. What are they, 10th in the league?
It's weird, eh?
A B team with sports science, full-time football, full-time coaches, a state-of-the-art 20 million pound training ground. I've just told us playing against guys who train on a Monday and a Thursday night for 2 hours.
Is that world class and everything you do?
No, it's no Bhoycie. I mean, if you've got the head of operations, totally unanswerable to any situations, no matter how bad or good the development squad is, there's no questions to answer. You've got a B team coach. You had Steve McManus there for years and years and years. Can he win a match at Celtic? And he just goes through season after season with nothing, no questions being asked. Darren O'Day, I know, an absolute turn up. He got a job somewhere else and they replaced him with somebody else who played for Celtic. You know what I mean? It's Sean Maloney now, with at least some pedigree outside Celtic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That one.
At least he's got something, Bhoycie. That's tangible. That's tangible success. He said he's been at the Belgium international first team.
Assistant and Wigan manager, Hibs manager.
He's been at Hibs probably didn't get long enough, if you're being honest.
Agreed.
You probably get tangible success or tangible. He's got a good CV. The rest of them have got in their CV as I played for Celtic.
Celtic player. Aye.
Charlie McGrew probably the next one. Charlie McGrew's already laid the marker down by backing the board, Bhoycie. He'll be next to get a job. He'll probably be chief fucking, I don't know what he'll be next. You know what I mean? If it thumbs up again. But you know, Bhoycie, it's nepotism all the way through the club. It's an ability to see your own failures, an inability to learn from your own mistakes, and just a pure arrogance to what's going on.
Yes.
And you look at Rangers, Bhoycie, it took them 2 months, but the fans got to where they want. I reckon their new owners will at least take stock of what's happened. Their board couldn't give a flying fuck. They chanced it with Ange Postecoglou. It was a success, and they brought in Brendan Rodgers, who was another success. Instead of building on that, they're trying to find ways to get rid of him. Just a
Because
total
they
fuck up.
didn't bring him though, did they?
Was that?
They didn't bring him in, did
No,
they?
they didn't. It was, we all know it was David Desmond. But the thing is, Bhoycie, they're still landed on their feet, and they're still trying to find a way of fucking up.
Couldn't agree more.
You got a manager here who's the most successful manager. You know, it is relative this century. He's begging for a new contract, begging, and there's still no one put in place. In fact, not only is there no one put in place,
No talks.
they're phoning Roger Hannah and telling Roger Hannah that the Celtic manager's trying to find himself a backdoor exit.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
You know what I mean? But as I said, it's all the one big bubble of nonsense that we're stuck in just now with this Celtic board.
I'm going to come back to that very quickly. Paw Patrol, always one of my favourite commenters. He says, Bhoycie, how hard is it having to stand behind the wee fella who's flying the flag for you and other pods? Personally, for me, it should only be proper fans that go to the games, no offence. I mean, with the proper fans thing, I mean, quite mad. I think it should be, you know, well sort of, you know, known by now that only a certain amount of Celtic fans can go to the games each week, first and foremost. There is a season ticket waiting list, secondly. Thirdly, is that it? Are they the only real fans? Because, they're on a list higher. My wee brother's been on the waiting list for 3.5 years, but because he can't go every week, does that make him not a real fan, or does he qualify because he's on the waiting list? I can't remember. As for, is it hard to stand? I'm not standing behind anyone, mate. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's me who's only spoke highly of what I think the wee fella could do in these situations. And I don't think about this as a other pods thing or podcast. It's a Celtic fans thing. This is about Celtic. This is what we're trying to get rid of, is, you know, that many groups having to be represented at a meeting. Who's got a rep for this podcast or fan group? Nobody cares. No. I just want the 3 best representatives of Celtic supporters who want change. End of story. So it ain't difficult at all. And I think, yet again, Paw Patrol, you just go into the wee personal bit again, which is silly. Because actually listen to what we're saying on the show instead of making, I think, kind of childish assumptions. But of course, I can't help but retort. Back to what you were saying though there, Mark, which was, what did you say right at the end?
Oh, probably some keep a shine.
No. Oh, that's annoying.
Is it about the
you said about
the ability to take stock of what's happened, etc., and learn from it? Was it something like that?
You made a good point right at the end.
Did I tonight? Are you sure?
What was it again, man? That's so annoying because I wanted to come back to it. I said I'd come back to it. Oh, that's annoying.
Just quickly on the pod thing. Go. Just quick on the pod thing. I'm glad that there was no podcast as such at that thing, because then it becomes a source of content, which is not what this is about. This is a real fight to save this club for the dirty hands that it's in just now. And I think had the podcast been involved in that, it becomes all about content and who's releasing footage and releasing stuff first. And it just totally refocuses what we're supposed to be doing here. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably a good thing that there wasn't any podcast as such represented. And I agree. I think, like say, Paul John Dykes would 100% be a brilliant speaker at these things. It was certainly articulate better than I could. You know what I mean? Which isn't very hard, but the guy could probably hold a conversation with these people, and as you say, pick up on these small details and the rest of it. And most of the stuff said on this podcast about other podcasts, especially the Axom, as you say, none of it's, most of it's tongue in cheek. It's none of it's nasty, right? Like, so nobody's got agendas in this pod. I mean, I know it probably looks online like, oh, love to hear about Bhoycie fighting with this pod or this, that, and the other. That's not the case at all. You know what I mean? We just want the best for Celtic. So I wouldn't stick in my throat if I had to watch somebody I didn't like.
If I think they're the best thing for it, doesn't matter who it is.
Bhoycie, if somebody's speaking on behalf of me and they're doing a better job of doing it, then I'm all for that. You know what I mean? And I think this is what it has. But it has to stop becoming murky. See, things like this have to be nipped in the bud. We need to have folk speaking, or folk and amongst this that it's just 100% wanting the best for Celtic.
I think we proved that. The fact I'm even suggesting that I think he would be the best person. I mean, of all the folk I could cherry pick for me to be saying it's him, surely that shows that on this channel, all that is put to bed when it comes to getting the right outcomes for Celtic in the long run. And I think what we need right now as well, when it comes to as I say, the drive, the clarity, the focusing of minds, I'm just hoping that Celtic's disdain that they've shown in the 2 meetings that we are aware of in the last month, that are very similar, almost word for word sort of replies, retorts. I'm really hoping that unites this movement more. And I'm hoping that when you see the next meeting, rather than having like 6 different fan groups or affiliations, it just says one thing: Celtic fans and 3 names. Yeah. Don't even say the fans collective, just Celtic supporters. Celtic supporters and 3 names. That would then be that whole umbrella covered. Of course, though, there may be the fact, Mark, that there's not everyone on board with this. And some actually are on board with the board, which frighteningly, frightening as it is. There is, mate. Of course there is.
I think there's arseholes that like that. I talked to my dad the other day there, and my dad's like, "Oh, I've heard this, I've heard that." I've said, Dad, I'm at the games, and when it's sticking sack of boards, you're talking 2,000-3,000 people if you're lucky. You know what I mean? I'm not suggesting that that's the only section of the fan base that are wanting rid of these people, but you still got folk, even at my row, sit and tell me you can't sing things like that during a Celtic match. It's mere, how much do you want it, Bhoycie? How much do you want it? And do you want it enough to be vocal? Or are you happy just to go along with what happens and just see where you end up? And I think there's a big section of support that are happy just to go along and just hope Celtic get it right. I mean, I think there's signposts throughout this season already. We're only in October. We've reached moments where we need to get it fixed properly. And we're just cruising on, and we're cruising. Eventually, it's going to come to a head, Bhoycie. We're going to start dropping points. We're going to start losing games. And then these folk that are sitting on
You'll get the blame for that.
What's that?
And then the movement will get the blame for that.
Aye. Well, there already is a faction of people who's suggesting that this is harming the team. Bhoycie,
the club are doing me hints at that as well, by the way.
They mentioned that in the thing as well. But see the thing that there's going to be tough decisions to be made. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. When the folk were trying to get change in 1994 were getting pamphlets took out their horns and flung in the puddles, these people made the tough decisions that they were going to stand in and let the Celtic fans who can't hear one bad word said against the club, they took abuse off these guys, make the hard decisions. It might impact the team, but see, standing back and watching the club be run into the ground, it's going to impact the team for a far greater, longer period of time. Because all Rangers need to do is get it right once just now. Hit the board once, correct, Bhoycie, and they could go on a 3-4 year run. They could get the next Ange Postecoglou, the next Brendan Rodgers. And we're not got a board that can now react. We don't act or react now. That's been proven. We sold Kyogo, didn't act. We sold Ida, didn't act. We lost Kuhn, didn't act. We lost Jota in February or March, whatever it is. And we sat up to the last week of the window in September before we acted. But we lost Matt O'Reilly in August 2024. We've still not replaced him yet. So there's no acting or reacting anymore at Celtic. And all that mob has got today is hit the bullseye once, Bhoycie. And we'll be in their wake. And it's folk don't want to hear it. But with this mob running the club, who's running the club just now, we can't afford to take gambles anymore. We can't keep flinging shit at the wall and then just praying it sticks.
No, I get you.
We need to start meticulously planning each window. Now, I said this before. Iheanacho is probably going to be out for, I think it's picked, that is, for the cup final if we get there, and also the derby match, so which is January the 3rd. So if we've not got a striker by 27th of December sitting in a hotel in Glasgow, ready to go into the training ground in January the 1st, if we've not got a guy sitting in December waiting to start on January the 1st, this club has not learned one lesson for the last 2 windows. Because if we got into that derby match at Celtic Park with Johnny Kenny and I don't know,
I'll get the wee fella up front as well. Fuck it.
I mean, if we go in there, Bhoycie, in that match, without a new striker, then there's been not one lesson learned.
Spot on,
Because
mate.
if it's January 1st or January 30th, the club will still be waiting to the very last opportunist minute to make a decision. I remember last time we were playing Rangers, I think it was last year, and we signed that boy for Liverpool on loan, and we're like, oh, thank God we've got a centre back now. Remember the boy? It was shite. Remember, but he was terrible, Bhoycie.
When was
On
it?
loan. I think it was last season or Rogers' first season.
Nat
Matt
Phillips.
Phillips, and he came in with like a day before the window closed. But we were saying, thank God we've got a centre back now for the derby match at Ibrox. And he came in and Rogers said, no, he's weeks away from being fit. And you're going, what was the fucking point of that? You know what I mean? We sat for days and days just hoping we get a centre back because I think Carter Vickers was injured.
But we'd also signed Navrocki, Lagerbielka.
Aye, but
that same window.
Yeah, but it was very, very evident that none of them were going to be playing. I think we played Lagerbielka and Scales that day.
We did.
As a kind of makeshift, kind of like, but the idea the last couple of days was we've got this guy in now. We'll get this guy in and we've got a centre back for the derby match.
And he looked like a Rogers signing too.
I
that was the disguise. That was the flight of hand.
Aye.
See, we're back in the manager. See,
opportunistic. I said, well, I couldn't say that. I saw that opportunistic.
That's all right.
And the board know that, and the board also know there's a massive section of the fan base that just can't see Rogers do anything right, and I think I slowly begin to like new question some of his tactical decisions. But see, the board, they'll love that, Bhoycie. But I don't think it's the time to go all in on that. I think he should be mindful of that, and I think he should recognise that. But I don't think the fan base and the abuse should go towards Rogers just yet as well. Because it would be coming fairly quickly if we drop points on Saturday or Sunday there, sorry. I think we need to be behind the people who are wanting the best for Celtic just now. And I think Brendan Rodgers, when he sits in that press conference, he sits in that dugout, he's representing me and you, Bhoycie.
His imagination for what Celtic can become, I think, matches ours.
I think matches probably more than you than me. I'd be happy with total domination in Scotland. He wants more than that. You know what I mean? And I think the board's holding him back, Bhoycie. And so I think he deserves a bit more leeway. Plus the fact that he's got a squad full of fucking reprobates. You know what I mean? They're fucking just doing community service off of them. You know what I mean? That's what I'm dealing with. So he deserves a lot of leeway. But I think the board's licking their lips at some of the Celtics fans' comments online.
100%.
And I don't want to give them that, Bhoycie. I really don't. Doesn't mean
that's why Lowell doesn't celebrate that goal.
Probably.
I'm convinced, mate. The instinctive emotion you give away, right? At a moment like that hyped up, that scenario, if your instinct is to remain in your seat looking down, that's real. Because these things are moments in time where you react. Either whatever way it is that you react and you give your game away slightly. Most people, it's jump out your seat going tonto, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Those split seconds where he's been photographed give his game away. Right, we're going to go a couple of comments before we go. Stephen Reid posted this right at the start of the show. I don't know if he's still watching, but he says the board didn't call the meeting to offer an olive branch, quote, remember? They called it to size up the opposition. The fans collective need to slim the numbers for any future meetings down 3 or 4 at most. We're in complete agreement with that, Stephen. Thanks for your comment, and I think that sums up a lot of the stuff that me and Mark have been saying this evening. Next up, we've got Joe C. The only way to hurt the board is to hit them in the pocket, which means a boycott, which I think you tweeted about, Mark. Merch, tickets, everything else that Celtic fans spend money on, but I'm not sure that will ever happen. There's two arguments to this, isn't there? Because the fact that the Europa League clearly hadn't sold as they would have hoped, there's many that are of the view that that's why there was the meeting called, and it was based on. Do you think that? So that would then feed into pennies. What do you think? Sorry.
Sorry, I think the fact that the ticket sales, the uptake was so low, forced action, and I think the reaction as well from I think the merchandise I heard in September has been really bad. That new store opened up up at the Buchanan Galleries last week, Bhoycie, and I haven't even seen one picture online of somebody being in it. Normally it'd be folk going like that. Have you seen it? Celtic bought the next store in
You?
Buchanan Galleries. I never saw one photograph of that, Bhoycie. Have you
No,
online?
no.
What does that tell you? The
It's a
cut's
bit
red.
naughty as well, a Henrik Larsson collection.
Oh, I know. But that's even I couldn't say Neil Lennon
Now I
gif
feel
fuck
bad
off on
though.
that. But
Now I
it's
feel
what they
bad because
like.
I'm like, Henrik, everything he touches is meant to turn to gold.
Aye.
They're trying to conflict their kids with that one, eh? It's naughty.
Oh, they're definitely they're reeling out the old Henrik Larsson stuff because nobody's going to have one bad reaction to Henrik Larsson. You know what I mean? They know that. But even I think a full that's will not affect the team at all, boys. Say call for a full ban on merchandise. Takes one post online, and to be honest with you, boys, it probably wouldn't be that inventive to do it. Anybody that's behind this, and
Big
then
banner,
see,
dhgate.com.
aye, aye, buy it. There was a thing with Man U years ago where they bought the scarves. Remember the green and yellow
Yeah,
scarves?
yeah, yeah.
You could buy T-shirts that said "Get the board to it, sack the board." If you want some Celtic merch, go to CT Terraces, or what you call it. He's selling TC Terrace tees. He's selling sack the board T-shirts, and we endorse them. And every a pound of that goes to the foundation every time you buy it, or goes to a Palestinian cause. Fuck's sake. And they would sell it, you know what I mean? And people would go to their way to buy these T-shirts as a mark of disrespect to the club. You know what I mean? And
Good point.
every time a board member saw this T-shirt, they would say, "That's £50 no in a Celtic shop." You know what I
That's
mean?
you're right. I think as
And if
well,
you're an investor,
just going back to something you said earlier, which I meant to pick up on. I think one of the best points you've made tonight, mate, was why are we relying on agreed minutes when the whole thing could be videos?
yeah,
Videoed by both camps, both full disclosure videos, the whole thing. Say it's 1 hour, 3 minutes. Both videos will be the exact same amount of time. We all get to see what's happened.
yeah.
We
No,
don't correlate your fucking minutes. Let's see it. No one should have anything to hide, particularly on our side. Demand it as videos. Everything else right now in the world is on camera. So why is this all hush hush? Particularly if both camps have nothing to hide.
I know because they both said they're going to
Great
release
shout
minutes.
that, mate.
There was a I think it was Celtic the other day that said it was our intention and still is our intention to publish the minutes of this meeting. So if it was that open and that frank, then a camera had been there wouldn't have mattered. I mean, if they're scared of people picking up their reactions to questions and picking up their faces and all the rest of it, well, I'm sorry, but that's where you lie. You know what I mean? Oh, agreed minutes and fan grip. Oh my god, is this the
Agreed
second?
minutes. That's just been
Is the
released
second one?
5 p.m. by the club.
Oh,
Today.
yes, that's just come out at 5, I think.
Well, look,
So
agreed minutes.
So
I don't need your
they're
agreed minutes.
Yeah.
Just let's see it. I think
I
video and
suppose,
it's a great shout by
it's
you,
a
mate.
case
A really
of,
great shout.
I suppose it's in case of like, you know, a wee bit of naughtiness, somebody putting in a wee snidey comment that wasn't made, or
But don't broadcast it live. Don't broadcast it live.
Aye.
If anything, do agreed video disclosure.
Aye.
Right? That'd be far more interesting. Anyway, it is
And
what
by
it
the
is.
way, Celtic would sell that at £5.99 to the YouTube channel. I mean, there's no fucking ticket sale here.
I know. I'll get you to send me the link. Right, last one, and then we're out of here. I don't know who's Beltrami. Do you know who that is?
Beltrami.
I don't know if I'm getting stitched up here. You need a Beltrami like speaker at these sort of meetings.
Beltrami. Does he play for Rangers?
Beltrami. I don't know, but I thought it was a type of pasta.
you need a Beltrami
Type of speaker. Typhoon. That's a great way to leave the show. We're as confused as we've ever been. We're as no further forward as we've ever been. But listen, Thursdays are where you come for a bit of it's a clinic, isn't it? It's where we just all get it off our chest. We look at all the pros, all the cons, all the disappointments, and we try our best on the show to give you as many honest opinions as we possibly can. Not filtered. We don't try and twist things, spin things.
Agreed minutes. Agreed.
Well,
Agreed
actually,
minutes.
Mark, thanks for signing that before we came on. Appreciate that. Usual. You know what I mean? Mark, here's the minutes for the meeting, ahead of the meeting. I know what he's Bhoycie. That's what that's the tune we'll dance to. Oh, the wee fella, you're backing him, I boy. Let's sign it. Fuck it. That's how it works on the bus, really. All scripted. Anyway, we'll get the fuck out of here. See you later. Cheers, Mark.
No worries.